সুপ্রিয় দর্শক মণ্ডলী, আপনাদের সকলকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আজকের এই এপিসোডে। Now I'd like to introduce Redbridge Council leader, Councillor Jas Atwal. Councillor Atwal, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you. দর্শক মণ্ডলী, আমরা আজকে কথা বলবো what is the latest situation in Redbridge and what the Redbridge Council are doing for us to protect us from the deadly disease of COVID-19, or also we'll have some information regarding vaccination program, regarding any benefit related to the COVID, and also COVID tests. So now we are very grateful to Councillor Jas Atwal for joining us, and I'd like to ask him various questions related to COVID situation. So firstly, Councillor Atwal, I'd like to ask you to update us about what is the latest situation in terms of infections in Redbridge, and the next part would be what are we doing, or as a council leader, what Redbridge Council is doing for its residents.
Thank you. The situation is very, very serious. We are, I think, the second or third highest borough in London for infections at the moment. And all the top 5 boroughs, whether it's Havering, whether it's us in Redbridge, Waltham Forest, Newham and Barking and Dagenham, are the top 5 boroughs in the whole of London. And we're in the top 15 in the country as well. This area has been particularly hard hit with the new variant of the virus. And what is the council doing? In terms of numbers, the numbers are sort of, in some of our wards, they're sort of 800 per 100,000. That is very, very high. Now, that is because I think people are not taking heed of the advice that's been given. And the council have got 3 testing centres, permanent testing centres. If you're showing signs of COVID-19, if you've been referred from your work or because from your school, then you have to actually come to one of our 3 centres. One of them is in Ilford in the Mildmay car park. Another one is in Ganshill Library car park. And the third one in Woodford, Charteris Road car park. We also have 3 vaccination centres. One of them is in the town hall in Ilford. One of them is in Fulwell Cross Medical Centre, just near the Fulwell Cross Library on Fencepiece Road. And the third one is in the Sir James Hawkey Hall in Woodford. And of course, what the council has done is we've managed to get 2 mobile testing units until Christmas. They go every day to a different school. They park up in the school's premises, and the children from that school can come along and be tested along with their parents. And finally, we also have a testing centre in the library in Ilford. This is for asymptomatic people who show no signs of COVID-19. So you can just simply walk up, line up, get yourself the test, and then you'll be sent the result. So all these things are happening, but what we've started doing over the last couple of weeks is basically engaging with the residents, because we haven't got the powers to enforce. So what we have is, like yesterday, we had 23 engagement officers in Ilford. We had 6 police officers. We had our enforcement officers. We had something like 40 officers. All these people were handing masks, giving literature. And again, we were on the streets today handing out masks. And we handed out 21,000 masks, over 21,000 masks. Imagine, these are people going to shops who are not wearing masks. You know, even in this serious situation, we are seeing people still disobeying the rules, and yet the infection rates are sky high because people are being negligent. People are simply not listening. And of course, it's not just about them. We're all, as human beings, interdependent on each other. It's no point me taking the risks, you know, by going out and doing what I want, and you staying at home, because at some stage I'm going to be spreading the virus. We all have to do our bit. And of course, with our 3 testing centres, 3 vaccination centres, 2 mobile testing units, and our asymptomatic testing centre, and giving out 21,000 masks and engaging with our residents. And of course, we're also sending teams of people knocking on doors and saying to people, here's a home testing kit which you can use. And basically your swabs, put them into the plastic bag provided, will be collected by courier later on in the same day. So there's lots of things we're doing, but we need the public to help us. We need the public to stay at home. We're in tier 4 now, which is effectively lockdown. We can't visit friends inside. We cannot see other families. We cannot see our own family if they don't live with us. You've got to stay at home. This is the safest place. If you haven't got coronavirus, stay inside. That's the way you will stay safe.
Thank you. Can I repeat, because I want to repeat all these facilities. First of all, you said 3 testing center. One is 6 Mildmay Road. Another one is Gransil Library, and another third one is where?
In Woodford, in Charteris car park, Charteris Road car park.
So you need to make an appointment for to go there.
Yeah, those ones are by appointment, because those are people who have COVID-19, who've got their, lost their sense of smell or their taste, or they got a newly developed cough, or they got a temperature. So there you have to actually be invited in. You have to be given an appointment. There are 3 places, one in the north, one in the south, one in the west of the borough. And of course, those are permanent testing centers that are there, and they will remain there until we actually see off the virus.
If I just stop you, I'm just going to clarify one by one, if you don't mind, because I want our viewers to understand that which places that the procedures, because many people are suffering now, the increased number. So 3 and 2 mobile units, you said 2 mobile unit to test. If you just answer my question, then it will be easier. I know you want to tell, you can tell overnight, whole night. I understand your point, because you are leading the whole program. But I want the people to understand that what's going on here, where they can go, what is the procedure, because many people know that there is a center, but then they don't know the procedure, how long it will time, how to book the appointment, and what are the procedure. So 3, they need to book an appointment in advance. By telephone or by online?
By telephone. And of course, if your GP has referred you there, you will get a text on your phone, and then you simply take your mobile phone with you, and you show them the message. You can go in and get yourself tested.
Okay. And through 2 mobile center, is it on the mobile van or bus, or what are the 2 mobile centers?
It's a bus which gets parked at 2 of our schools. They go to different schools. For instance, I think on Friday, they were at Isaac Newton, and they were at the Palmer Academy. Before that, I think they were at Valentine's and Beale. So they go to different schools, and then the children of the school get notified, and their parents and the children can get tested.
Okay, so different schools, they don't need to book anything. Only maybe the school authority will know in advance that tomorrow the pass will be there, they can take the test. And
yes,
how long? Right. And asymptomatic, the center in the library said, who has no symptom, they can go to the library, Ilford Library or Redbridge Library in Ilford.
It's Ilford Library, the central library behind the town hall. So if you just want to sort of reassure yourself, you think, we're all sort of settling down for Christmas, I just want to make sure all the family's fine. If you want to go to the central library, just go along, make sure that you take your mask, make sure that you socially distance. There will be a queue because there's no booking system. You just turn up, wait for it, and then you get tested and you'll get the result. That's at the central library behind the town hall in Ilford.
How long it will take to get the result?
They're very good. They'll get the result within about 24 hours max.
Okay. And sorry, I'll be speaking slowly because I want the people to understand what is the procedure. So, say for example, I feel that the symptom of COVID, say for no smell or cough. So then, what can I do in the middle of the night?
Yeah, there's two things you can do. One is to try and ring 119. The other one is to ring your doctor. And soon as you get through, they will refer you to a testing unit. And you can just simply take your code that they send you. And when you get to the testing center, they will scan that and then you go in. It's a very simple test. They take the swab into your nose, into your throat, and then they put your swab into the bag, and then you get the results very, very shortly after that.
Okay, thank you. And the result will be immediately
Yeah, the results are basically for these tests. They come within 24 to 48 hours.
24 to 48 hours. Okay.
And you'll be notified on your phone.
Okay, thank you. And can you explain that if someone got positive, result is COVID-19 positive, what is his family member's duty?
Yeah, I mean the thing that what you have to do is you have to self-isolate, and you must isolate for at least 10 days. Now, the biggest problem we've seen is that because there is no enforcement, people sometimes think, I feel okay, I'll just go and buy some bread. Please do not do that. You are risking everybody else, because this disease is, the new variant is 70% more infectious than the last variant. So therefore, you will be spreading the virus. You must go in. I mean, I know of people who are isolating in their room, and they say, for instance, if there's a bathroom toilet upstairs, the rest of the family, they use the toilet downstairs. You must isolate. The other family members should get tested as well, because if you then ring your doctor and say, my husband, my wife, my child has got COVID, tested positive, I need to get the whole family tested, and you will then know, and you must isolate. You must not go out. The responsibility is that if you need food, contact somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member. In the extreme case, contact the council. And if you contact the council, you can then basically get any help that you possibly need. But most people are doing this with friends and family. If you run out of food, friends and family will just leave it on your doorstep. You can't come into contact with anybody. It's so important. And if you've had a test because you think you might have COVID-19, isolate until you get the result, because the whole point of you went in and had the test was to try to find out if you got COVID-19. And when the test comes positive, then you've had a day or 2 days isolating. If the test comes negative, then it's okay. And there are payments that the government has allowed, and the council controls them. You contact the council, and if you test positive, you can certainly receive up to £500 payment as isolating, because that is the most important thing you have to do, is to help stop the spread of the virus, is to isolate at home. That's very, very important.
Thank you. Is there any helpline for the council to call for a COVID-related problem?
The easiest place is just go on to the council's website, www.redbridge.gov.uk, and there is a huge coronavirus hub. All the information is there. What you can do, what financial help is available, advice that you may need, and even the new tier system, what you can and cannot do. Everything is on the website. We've invested a lot of time, a lot of effort into this to make sure our residents are very much informed.
Thank you. Can you just give us some information regarding a vaccination program, how you are running in Redbridge, the vaccination program, whether it has started or not, and how you are running, and how many people have so far been completed?
Okay, the vaccination program started on Wednesday, just gone, Wednesday the 16th. And what we have is 3 vaccination centers. One of them is in the town hall itself. It was open today. I was there. I saw people lining up to get vaccinated. And we had 1,000 people vaccinated there up until Saturday. And of course, we had the Fulwell Cross Medical Centre on Fencepiece Road, just behind the Fairlop Oak. That is another testing centre, and they had 1,000 tests as well. And the third vaccination centre was in Hawkey Hall in Woodford, and we had 1,000 people there vaccinated. So in the first sort of 3 days, we had the vaccinations done for 3,000 of our most vulnerable, the elderly residents, all over 80, getting vaccinations. And that will now carry on, and it will continue. Once they've done all the over 80s, they've done all the medical staff, they will then go down to the over 75s, and then they'll go down to the over 70s, and so on. They'll work downwards, because the ones who are the most vulnerable are the elderly. So we got to protect them first. So Tariq, people like yourself and people like me won't see a vaccine for months yet. But as long as we see that the community is being protected, the most vulnerable are being protected, then we will roll this out. And I, as a leader of the council, has said to the CCG, the medical staff, that if more vaccine is made available, we will make more venues, which the council will free up some of our larger libraries around the borough and any other buildings we have, because really what we want is all our population vaccinated against this, so we can start to lead a normal life again. And that's what we all want.
What about the testing center? Are they open during Boxing Day, Christmas Eve, or weekend? All the centers are open the next week?
Yeah, the testing centers are going to be open because the virus doesn't go on holiday, and so we will equally be making sure that we are doing all the tests.
And can you just, what is your thought? I don't know whether there's a medical evidence or not. Why Redbridge is one of the worstly affected country in England? I saw somewhere 13th mostly affected country. Why is that happening in Redbridge? Is there any failure to us, or we are not that responsible, or because of our ethnicity, or many people from ethnic background, minority ethnic? What do you think about, or is there any evidence that why it's happening?
There is no scientific evidence, and what we've had is obviously there's cultural things here, because when London went into lockdown, we're in the northeast. What did most people did in Redbridge, in Havering, in Barking and Dagenham and Waltham Forest? They went out towards Essex, and of course Essex people were coming into London, and so therefore being on the outskirts, we were then particularly vulnerable. And of course Redbridge was for a while the worst affected borough in London, but we've been around about the 15th or the 16th worst borough in the country continuously. But the 5 boroughs which have been there or thereabouts, like I said, are all linked together in the northeast. And of course the scientific evidence, there isn't any, but certainly there is a cultural thing, and I think we need to take care. We've had intergenerational families living together. Redbridge is a very overcrowded borough with lots of people living in smaller households, and sometimes there's a 3-bedroom house and there's 9 or 10 people living in there. May even be like the grandparents, the grandchildren, and the parents themselves. And that obviously, once one gets it, everybody else is going to get it. But the shocking thing is the worst borough continuously for about the last 3 months has been Havering, and we've been around either 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
What, apart from being cautious about the impact of the COVID victim, what is your advice to the people to save themselves from this, to become victim of the COVID-19?
The best thing to do, as I said earlier, is to stay at home. I mean, this tier 4, the strapline is stay at home, and only go out if you need to exercise. And you can do that quite simply. I normally go for a walk for about 2 hours, and I will do that when this program finishes. And when I go around the borough, I don't talk to anybody. I just go by myself. And once I'm walking, then I will do that. Or you go out to get food or medicine. Uh, if you can work from home, please work from home. If you can't work from home, then travel safely to where you work. But this is tier 4 is stay at home. And remember, at Christmas, you cannot mix with any other household. You can only be in your own bubble, in your own house. That's all all the people you can mix with. And you can't allow anybody to come into your house. It is, the best way to counteract this virus at the moment. Think about it this way, Tariq, is that the vaccine is here. The last thing we want is one of our loved ones to catch it and die. Imagine, there's a war going on and they've just signed the Truth Declaration and there are still pockets of fighting going on. Imagine being shot as the last person in that war. We don't want our relatives, our friends, our family, or residents of Redbridge or anywhere. That's why we must take so much care. This is very, very serious now. And I think the government mishandled it because they wanted to relax it for Christmas. Well, actually, the virus, like I said, doesn't take relaxation periods as well. It doesn't recognize anything. It's going to attack us and it's changing all the time. And we have to be much, much smarter. And the only thing we're asking people to do is stay at home, isolate.
Thank you. And a couple of issues because of the lockdown. Some question are here, but I'll go to the question a little later. But because of the Tier 4 lockdown, uh, is there any incentive for the business, or is there any central government incentive or local government incentive? Can you just guys on it?
Sure. Because the government really didn't know they were going to go into tier 4 on a Friday morning. It was only late that day that they decided that they're 4. They haven't really planned. The calls I was on with the minister because of coronavirus. There will be grants available. They're not available yet, but they will get given grants. These are businesses which are forced to close. It could be like gyms or non-essential shops like barbers shops, beauty parlors. The shops that can't open, they will be given financial support. The shops that can open will obviously be able to open and therefore they won't receive it. And of course, as you know, the furlough scheme for laying off people has now been extended till April. So we have to just wait and see because they only announced this yesterday and we're now into our coronavirus sort of tier 4. And it just takes a little bit of time for the information to come out. I know because my finance director will be starting to work out, how much money are we going to receive? We will get that sometime this week because obviously there's got to be financial help for businesses. There's got to be financial help for individuals. There's got to be financial help for paid employees. So that's coming. Just watch this space. Like I said, go to the coronavirus hub on Redbridge Council's website for all your questions there.
And just a couple more questions. Many councils are refusing to pay discretionary payment of £500. They say they don't have enough budget to pay £500. And another part of this question is that many business who that does not fit to the government criteria, but government says that they have given money to the local council. So how many people have been benefited in Redbridge from this discretionary grant? And is there any sufficient money available for them? If they claim now, what is the deadline to claim? Just give us just general information. I'm not asking specific information.
Yeah, I mean, when the government gives the money to the council to distribute, the council are also given very, very strict guidelines. And what we're doing is making sure that we follow that guideline, because if you follow the guidelines given by the government, then you generally try and see that the money is spread out as far as it reaches most residents, most businesses. And a lot of the times where people have fallen foul, and I know when the first grant scheme came through, lots of people were saying, I didn't get any money. those who were paying business rates from a business bank account and going straight on a direct debit to the council, we had to do a basic check, because we also found like 900 businesses were fraudulently trying to draw up the funding, the grant. They were trying to claim funding that they didn't really deserve because they didn't have a proper bona fide business. But there were other businesses who perhaps didn't pay by direct debit, didn't pay from their bank account. You know, like sometimes a small business, the owner of a shop pays from his own personal bank account. What we had to do was we had to check that this whole scheme is for them, and by checking made it a little bit more difficult. It took a little bit more time, but we certainly made sure that once we've done the checking, then those businesses receive the money. The problem was going to be if we paid everybody without checking, we would have paid to 900 businesses fraudulently, and then some of the legitimate businesses wouldn't have received the money. So we have to do the basic checks. We have to go with the government guidelines, and we have to go by the envelope of money that is given to us. So the council is more like just somebody who just distributes the money based on the regulations that the government stipulates.
Thank you. Regarding school children, so we have seen in the mainstream newspaper that Redbridge is one of the council just allowed gone onto online teaching. So can you just tell us about what is the procedure for self-isolation? What is the procedure for school children, whether they need to attend and how long they need to attend, and if they don't send these children to the school, what are the punishment for the parents? Can you just give us a general idea, please?
I mean, this is a very sort of complex area. When the government announced that schools have to open, the education department made sure that the council really worked with the schools, all the schools and the academies, to draw up their risk assessments. And those risk assessments were very, very thorough. And we made sure that, you know, we brought into play measures like, you know, when parents came to drop their children off, they were straddling the times. 1 year would come in at, say, 8:40, 1 year would come in at 9, 1 year would come at 9:20. It made sure that we didn't have large groups of people at the gates. So we worked with the schools. But as the schools went on, and this new variant came into play, we were seeing towards the end almost 6,000 people self-isolating, because we were seeing that younger children, they don't show any signs of coronavirus. They get it, and within 14 days they could have come to school and nobody else would have known that they got coronavirus, but they would have infected others. And so what we try to do is make sure we test the school children randomly. And we also said, because, you know, some parents are genuinely worried that they, you know, they're going to die, they're going to get coronavirus. There's lots of anxiety, and we understand that. So what I said to the education team was, we're not going to fine people if they're really worried about their children. We're going to talk to them. We're going to talk to the parents, and then we, you know, we'll get under the skin of the problem. If it's a child which has got a good attendance record, we will look into that and we will take that into account. If it's just a child who at the best of time didn't attend school and is now trying to use the coronavirus to stay away, we will treat them slightly differently. But of course, you know, we've got lots of parents who we worked with them, worked through their anxieties to try and make sure that they feel comfortable in their children coming to school. But towards the end, I know 3 councils, I think it was Greenwich, Islington and Waltham Forest, they wrote to their schools to cancel the schools in the last week, and the government forced them to send, you know, reverse their decision and made sure that the children went. I wrote a letter as well to all the schools, but it was a slightly different one. It was a softer letter, and the government really wanted to write to me as well, but they couldn't, because we were very, very concerned that the safeguarding of our children was at risk. And of course, it meant that we gave the schools the opportunity to close on Tuesday and not to open until after Christmas. And of course, I think something like 35 of our schools took up that option. So children didn't go in on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then obviously we now got 2 weeks off. It means that almost 3 weeks will go by before children return. So it's a very, very complex problem, made worse that the government is insisting that schools stay open. Now, I understand schools should stay open because I understand that the children from deprived backgrounds suffer the most. But what we're saying is we will keep schools open for those children. Because for a school, if you got like 6,000 children isolating, then the school has to do two jobs. They have to teach in the school and they have to teach online. It's double the effort, and the teachers are now tired. They are, fatigue has set in. It's almost been like 10 months since coronavirus came into play, and the teachers are working long hours and having to do more. And of course, what they need is either everybody comes to school, or from time to time, people stay at home and they do online teaching. Now, we are happy to go with what the head teachers say. The government is saying, no, they must come to school, even if half the school is still self-isolating. That's the kind of situation we're in. We're fighting the coronavirus and, of course, a government that doesn't really know what it's doing. And I'm saying, don't trust me, trust the head teachers. They know the school, they know the children, they know what their job is. Let them decide what is best. And if they decide we're going to do online teaching for 2 weeks, I'm happy with that. But unfortunately, the government doesn't take that view.
Thank you for elaborating disclosure from your side. Very last two questions. First of all, what about any care home in Redbridge affected, or what is the situation regarding care home or visitors they can visit, and any infection rate in care homes in Redbridge?
Yeah, what we've done is we've got after the initial sort of trauma when we went into lockdown on March the 23rd, the things we did do was we bought a lot of PPE, we bought a lot of testing kits, and we made sure that all our care homes were tested. And of course, all the care homes and the care home staff and people, carers, medical staff, they're getting the vaccinations first. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we make our care homes as safe as possible. So, this is work in progress, because don't forget, we only received the vaccine on Wednesday. So today's Sunday. And we've been doing tests all the way through. And there's an added problem that the vaccine, once you take it out of its, minus 70 degrees state, which is in when we first receive it, it's got a shelf life of about 3.5, 4 days. So after that, it becomes, totally useless. You have to use the vaccine in that time. So we are booking appointment. That's why the government's giving it to us in batches. So we get 1,000, we use that 1,000, they get us another 1,000. And of course, what we're doing is we got some of our people going to care homes. Some of the care homes people are being taken to Queen's Hospital to make sure that the vaccinations happen very, very quickly.
Thank you. Many people are scared about King George Hospital, and many people are telling that, and in the report, that many people are dying in King George. Why is there any short of any logistics, or what is the problem? Why many people are dying? I don't have the evidence, but maybe I've seen somewhere in the report, and even when I talk to friends or someone, they said, no, King George is dangerous. Is there any shortage of consultant, doctors, or any other logistics?
No. Think about it a different way. People with coronavirus who go to hospital, they go to hospital because they're in a very, very serious state. They're in a complete distressing situation. And of course, if you get coronavirus and you're at home and it's not too bad, it's a bit like the flu, you've got away with it. But if you're getting trouble breathing, you're, really struggling, you're feeling very weak, and you're hospitalized, your chances have already diminished. So therefore, the chances of dying are a lot higher. So when people say people are dying in King George Hospital, they're dying in all hospitals. And what King George Hospital is doing, where they've received a shortage of staff, they are starting to stop elective care, other services, because what they want to do is they want to concentrate on the coronavirus cases going through. And that's why it's important, we do all the other things that we keep talking about in terms of, keeping your distance when you go out to go shopping or to the doctors or to work, washing your hands regularly, and basically wearing your mask. The reason for that is we don't want to burden our King George Hospital. The less care we take now means more of us are going to end up in King George Hospital. And you only go to King George Hospital if you're in dire trouble. So, of course, the death rate is going to be higher if you get to King George Hospital, if you get to any hospital for coronavirus, because you're in trouble then. And we don't want us to be in trouble. We want to stay out of trouble. And the best way to do that is to observe the rules. I just want to say one thing, Tariq. I read this really tragic story on Twitter, and it was a video posted by a young lady. Her mother had died. And she said, 5 days ago, my mother was healthy. She was at home. She was enjoying everything. And there was a long, far off family wedding. And she didn't want to go. She was the only one who was isolating in the home. She said she wore a mask even in the home. She was worried. And of course, she didn't want to go to the wedding. Cultural pressures, family pressures, relative pressures. They went to they made her go to the wedding. When she went to the wedding, they're taking the wedding pictures. Take your mask off. It'll look terrible in the video, in the pictures. You don't want your mask on. Take your mask off. So they're standing close by, and she takes her mask off. Within 4 days, she comes home. She's caught coronavirus. Within 4 days, she's got to hospital and she's died.
Okay.
That is such a tragedy. It didn't need to happen. If they had only listened to her, didn't pressure her, and because she felt pressured, that woman would be alive today. And I know whether you're Bangladeshi background, Indian background, Pakistani background, our cultures are the same. It's a family wedding, it's a far off family, or somebody that had a new child. You can see the child in 2 months' time, in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time. But if you take the risk, somebody may not be alive in 3 months' time. You may not be alive in 3 weeks' time. So take care. This is really, really serious situation we're in. And, over Christmas, even though Boris Johnson had said you can mix for 5 days, my family, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, we'd all agreed we were going to meet up on Zoom. We were not going to go to each other's houses. That's where we had to be. And the sad fact is, now that the government has brought in Tier 4, I bet you some of our families are still going to try and mix in on Christmas Day. And it's going to lead to tragedy. We want to stay away from the tragedy. We must be safe.
Thank you. Very last question. Money-wise and logistic-wise, is Redbridge Council is well equipped and is self-sufficient to combat the COVID situations? Any complaint against central governments or any lacking from local resources? So you are telling that only people has to help, otherwise all of the council staff and resources are ready to combat or always prepared to help the residents.
Yeah, we're ready. We're armed. We made those decisions very early on. I mean, one of the things I'm very proud of is that, coming from business backgrounds, you learn to spend money very, very, you learn to sort of put it in the bank. And that's what we've done. And the government always promises a lot and then they don't give. And a lot of every councillor has complained that the government has not given enough money. What we did was we bought PPE, personal protective equipment. We bought loads of it. We got it stored. The reason we wanted it stored, because we don't want to be in that situation where there was no PPE at the start. In terms of food, if people need food, we will certainly provide it. So from finances wise, we are well equipped in the sense that we are, we like to keep our money. We cut our cloth accordingly. We make sure that we only spend money we've got. And in terms of the staff have been amazing. They've worked very, very hard and long hours. And that's what you want in a pandemic. As human beings, we've got to come together and we've got to help each other. And the best way residents can help is wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance, stay at home. And even at home, ventilate. That's one of the things they say. I know it's cold, but occasionally open a few windows, let some fresh air in, and then keep making sure that your house is ventilated. Do all those things. You'll be helping the council, you'll be helping the NHS, King George Hospital, and of course, the more people stay at home, then more people have got a chance of surviving at King George Hospital. What we don't want is so many people end up in King George Hospital, they stop all the other services, because what that will mean is more people will die of heart attacks, more people will die of diabetes, more people will die of cancer. We don't want that. We want us to be responsible. At the end of the day, we as residents have to take responsibility as well. We can't always look to the government, the council, the hospital. We actually have to take responsibility for our own actions. And that's what we want everybody to do. We want everybody to be safe.
Thank you. If you allow me, just a couple of questions. Many people join in some question. If you allow me, I can read out. If you allow me, time allows. I hope.
Yeah.
Some of this, Mr. Mahfouz Rahman says, great work, just at all. And Jahid Imtiaz, he said, correct, Mr. Just, because you said cultural thing, we need to abide by the rules. Faidur Rahman says, do you think government was right to put us on tier 4, or it was right time, or they should have done weeks before? What is your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think the government is right to now put us in tier 4 because the COVID infections are very, very high. And I agree with the second part of his question. I have been saying for about 2-3 weeks, because I've been seeing the infections. I get a daily report. I saw the numbers. Our numbers are over 500 today. Our numbers are now over 600. They're now over 700. They're over 800. This is not like over the last few months. This is over the last 3 weeks after the last lockdown. So what the government should have done is they should have been seeing these numbers. At the end of the day, I know everybody wants to be popular, but the best way to be popular is to keep our residents safe, keep the population of the whole of the country safe. And obviously the council can't do anything. We have to do what the government does for London. When tier 4 came in, it's going to save so many people's lives, because it means people aren't just going to be mixing in every willy-nilly. I mean, it reminds me of another story just at the start of the first lockdown. I remember this case in New Jersey. 17 members of one family met for their last night's last night's dinner before lockdown. One of them was positive and they didn't know it. Within a week, a brother had died, a sister had died, and the mother had died. 3 people in one family had died because they met for a meal. All I'm saying is, as a human being, I want all our residents to be able to have a meal with their families safely when it's safe to do so. It might be in 3 months' time, it might be in 6 months' time, it might be a year's time. I want, when we enjoy Christmas next year, I don't want anybody missing because of coronavirus. I want everybody to be there. And that's why I think the government has made the right choice now, even though I think they made the wrong choice by delaying it for so long. They should have made it about 2 weeks earlier. And when they should have made it, and we should have been coming into this period with our numbers not so high, they should have been a lot lower.
Thank you. How many casualties in Redbridge? How many people died of COVID in Redbridge so far, or how many infections? Do you have any report?
The number changes, and so far we're getting 3 to 4 deaths a week just of coronavirus.
So in numbers, how many hundreds is died? I saw in BBC.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I've just gone blank. I will try and remember as this meeting goes on.
Okay, thank you. And someone wrote a question, 15, 20 days. European Union family, okay, is Bengali, so I'm trying to, whoever coming from European Union, are they allowed to take what you call the vaccine? If someone come from within 10 to 15 days later, over 65, anyone from coming from European Union, are they allowed to take vaccine? This is the
Now,
question, Mr. Anis Rahman.
the vaccine is for the residents here. You've got to be registered with your GPs. Your GPs are the ones who nominate you. So I know, for instance, my mother-in-law had a vaccine injection on Thursday. It's because her GP had sent a letter a message on her phone. She's 83 years of age, and I took her to the testing center. So if you're coming in, you won't be registered for a vaccine. You won't be registered with a GP, and you have to be of the certain age. At the moment, the only way you're going to get a vaccine is either you're in a care home or you're a care provider, a doctor or a nurse, or work in a care home, or you're over 80.
So you are telling us that if anyone, because up until 31st of December, European people are pouring in here, many people from Asian backgrounds to other backgrounds, so they are not entitled to get a vaccine, even they are 80, until and unless they are registered with their local GP.
Yeah, they have to be registered because they have to get into the system. The system, because to get a vaccine, you have to be registered somewhere. If they're not registered, they won't be on the system. They can't just turn up and say, I'm over 80, so I need to have a vaccine. You can't do that.
What about if they are infected, tested positive, COVID-19 positive? So they can, I think.
No. The thing is, Tariq, you can't have a vaccine when you've tested positive. Vaccine is only when when there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, I know of somebody who's tested positive. He was offered a vaccine, and he said, I'd like a vaccine because I've got coronavirus. And the doctor said, no, you have to wait a few months before you have the vaccine. First of all, you've got to get over what you've just had. So, if you've got coronavirus, the only thing you can do is self-isolate.
Thank you. And some more questions. Nigeriwa Giteni says, great work. Just Atwal. Masood Mullah said, salam. Kitchen Shikdar said, nice program. And Dinat Ferdows said, nice program. And someone said, very nice to see different minorities helping each other. Makes refreshing change. And I think that's all. So do you have any concluding remarks so we can wind up this program?
Yeah, look, we're coming to the end of a very testing year. And I think we need to look at 2021 with positive thoughts that, the vaccine is here. And this is what I'm saying is that tomorrow is December the 21st, which is the shortest day of the year. Let's look at the light, the positive things, that it's going to start getting lighter in the evenings, later and later. So, the darkness will go. And of course, the spring is coming soon and the vaccine is coming. Let's observe the rules. Let's be careful. Let's really stay safe over the next 2-3 months, because not only is the vaccine here, but we'll also get the sunshine coming, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of respite from what we're in at the moment, because as you saw over the summer, the numbers dropped dramatically. And of course, as more and more people are getting the vaccine next year, we should be in a much, much safer place. And that's what I want to look forward to. And I beg of all the viewers, really just stay safe. That's the thing. Self-isolate. I cannot repeat that often enough, because that's the only thing that we've got going for ourselves. Unless you're over 80, then you can have a vaccine.
Thank you so much for your time. Initially, we were scheduled for only 15 minutes. You have given us 45 minutes. Thank you so much. We are grateful to you. Stay safe, stay well. Dear viewers, that's all from today. That's all from us. I hope everyone will listen and follow the guidance given by our council leader, Councillor Just Atwal. We need to stay well, and we need to maintain social distancing and all other rules so that we can have a Happy New Year, and also we are looking forward next summer, as everyone, including Prime Minister, is telling that we can enjoy, hopefully, next summer with all family members together. Thank you all. Good night. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.